What's up, everybody? Welcome to the newest episode of the Debate Mace. I'm Matthew, and I am joined today by the tech man, Jack. And today we're going to play a little true or false, a couple questions about some of the contenders in the league and some of the teams that have been more disappointing. Before we get into that, though, make sure to follow us on Instagram, like this video, comment, share. Let's defeat the algorithm and get these views up. And today we started with the OMG Awards again, which is, of course, the best player from every night. I'm not going to tell you who won it because then you wouldn't have to follow us. So make sure you follow us so you can see who won. Later today, I'll be coming out with a video where I react to ESPN's top 25 under 25 list. A very controversial list. I'm sure some of you have already seen it and seen stuff like Stephen A. Smith reacting, and that got a lot of views on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe so you can see that video. Be the first one to see it when it comes out. And Jack, without further ado, let's get into some true or false funny. Ready?
All right, let's do it.
All right. So the Suns are one of the hottest teams in the league right now after the All-Star break. They just beat the Jazz, the number one overall team in the league. Had a close game with the Clippers, the third best team in the Western Conference, on a back-to-back. So Jack, true or false? The Suns are legitimate contenders.
Championship contenders?
Championship contenders, or to make it out of the West.
I'm kind of on the border, but I'm going to say false. I don't think that. I mean, Chris Paul is obviously still a top 10 point guard in the league. Some would say top 5. I don't know if I'd go that far. But some would say top 5. And Devin Booker, obviously a great young player, but I really don't think that this team has the experience together. And I think that everyone on that team, really except Chris Paul, kind of lacks the experience to make it out of the West. I think they're probably a second round exit. I think it'll probably come down to, I think really your only contenders in the West are the Lakers, and really, honestly, that's about it. Maybe there are some teams you could throw in there like the Nuggets or something, but realistically, I think it's the Lakers coming out of the West again. Maybe the Clippers, but yeah, I think your big contenders are Lakers, Clippers, and debatably Nuggets. I don't think I'd put the Suns in there just yet. Maybe in a season or two, I would put them in there as contenders.
But do you think they're a better playoff team than the Jazz?
Oh, I forgot how well the Jazz are doing. Better playoff team? Probably about on par. I don't think the Jazz are contenders either. I think they're going to be a great regular season team, but I think they're probably not going to make it out of the West. Just judging by how it went last year, I don't know. But then again, the league is looking very different this year than it did last year, with a lot of teams doing very differently than they did last year. So I don't know. It's anyone's guess.
I agree with you. I don't think the Suns can be considered contenders to come out of the West just because there are like 7 really good teams in the West, and the Suns are going to have to beat at least 2 of them to make it to the conference finals. They'll probably have to beat the Mavericks or the Trailblazers in the first round. I assume one of those teams will be the 7 seed. And then they'd have to beat either the Clippers, the Nuggets, or if the Lakers make a late season surge once they get their healthy pieces back, they'll have to beat the Lakers in the 2-3 matchup in the semis. So, I mean, they're going to play basically 2 conference finals matchups in order to make it to the conference finals.
Yeah.
They then have to face whether it be the Jazz or one of those other teams.
The real final.
Yeah. So,
right.
I'm sorry. I apologize, guys. The Wi-Fi today is not very good, but
yeah.
Hopefully you can still understand what we're saying, hear it a little bit. But I don't see them coming out of the West. I think this team is really well put together. I think they do have a better shot than the Jazz do. They rely on less pieces than the Jazz. They just kind of need Booker and CP3 to be playing at a high level and have Ayton be playing well, and then need like 1 or 2 of those other guys to chip in, whereas the Jazz need Donovan Mitchell to be scoring 25, Gobert to be scoring 15 plus, and then they need 4 or 5 other guys to be hitting threes, playing defense. So the Jazz just rely on too many players, I think, and that can really end up hurting them in the playoffs. So, yeah, I agree. The Suns are not legitimate contenders to come out of the Western Conference, and I don't know if they'll even make that deep of a playoff run.
Mm-hmm.
So, next, true or false, Jack? Do you want to give us one?
Okay, my true or false question is: the Golden State Warriors will make the playoffs.
Will make the playoffs?
Will make the playoffs.
Do we count play-in tournament? If they're the 10 seed and they play in the play-in tournament, do you count that as playoffs, or do they have to be 1 through 8?
I'm saying, are they within the 8 seed like a standard season?
I'm going to say that is false. The Golden State Warriors will not make the playoffs. Shout out to Coach Z. He wanted us to talk about how badly the Warriors have been playing recently.
Right. I wanted to incorporate that kind of.
And, yeah, it's been a struggle for the Warriors. They're not the same team they normally are without Clay. I mean, we're really seeing how
Yeah.
big of an impact he had on that team. And guys like Oubre, Wiggins, they're
Yeah.
solid pieces. But in a loaded Western Conference with 7 teams that are conference finals contenders, I mean, the Blazers are probably going to be 6 or 7, and they were in the conference finals just 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
So this conference is loaded. In the Eastern Conference, the Warriors would have a chance, but we're seeing Curry can't do it by himself, and he's been injured a lot of the season with the tailbone injury. So, and that's where a lot of their losses have come from. The Grizzlies have been really well, have played really well this season. The Spurs are not going away, and then even the Pelicans are coming up behind them. They've started to play well. Zion's really coming into form.
Right.
So not only could this team miss the playoffs, but there's a chance they can miss the play-in tournament. So will they make the playoffs? I'm going to say no. That's false.
Yeah, and I think with Golden State, like with the exception of Steph Curry's been playing at, I think, an MVP level. He's been playing kind of on par with his MVP season. Other than him, everything possible has gone wrong for the Warriors. They've had injuries. Draymond Green is not an all-star level player, which I've always felt like people are so inconsistent about. One of my biggest pet peeves in the NBA is people who always complain like Golden State has 5 all-stars, but then they say Draymond Green's not an all-star. They're finally right on that. Like, Draymond Green is not an all-star. He is a decent defender at this point. I don't think he's even an all-star level defender at this point. And he can't shoot. He can't score. He's a good passer, and he kind of point forward. But other than that, Wiggins has been okay, but he's been really nothing special. He hasn't had the breakout season that people keep saying he's going to have. Kelly Oubre obviously has been terrible the whole season. He's had a few stretches where he played kind of well, but other than that, super, super mediocre season for him. James Wiseman, injured a lot, has not been kind of the rookie of the year candidate that we expected. And they've just got a god awful bench, and Klay Thompson not playing. It's been a rough season to say the least, and it's especially lately they've been really faltering, and I don't see them picking it back up from here. I kind of feel bad for them, honestly.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for them too. I mean, Curry, man, he's
I feel bad for Steph.
Yeah,
Curry.
My favorite play in the NBA is when Draymond catches the ball at the top of the key with no one guarding him and waits so he can pass it back to Steph Curry.
Yeah, he's like, you might as well just shoot it. There's like a 22% chance he'll make it. I mean, you're wide open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what we get for making fun of him for the backpack thing. Now we
he's
being afraid to shoot.
He's scared to shoot.
All right.
Yeah.
So speaking of media playing a role in how we judge players and perceive players, this one I just kind of thought of. So we'll see what you think. True or false?
All right.
Media are right to discredit Westbrook's career because of the lack of a championship run.
False. They are right to discredit his career, but not because he hasn't won a championship. Here's the thing about Westbrook. I'm not a big Westbrook fan. We know this. I've said this in past videos. I'm not a big fan of Russell Westbrook, but it's not because he's never won a chip. Should he have? At some point, could he have won a championship with OKC? Yeah, obviously they choked in 2015-16. They should have beaten the Warriors, and they didn't. But outside of that, I don't think there were really that many points where they were at the top of the West, because it was always the Spurs were ahead of them or somebody was ahead of them, and they wouldn't have beaten the Heat anyway. They lost to the Heat, and if they had played them again, they would have lost again. And so I don't think you can really get on Westbrook too much for not winning a championship. It bothers me that people criticize Russell Westbrook for the wrong reasons, because there are a lot of legitimate criticism of him. He can be a ball hog. He stat pads. He's incredibly inefficient. He's kind of a loudmouth. Like, there are a lot of legitimate criticisms about Russell Westbrook, and nobody seems to be making them. That's what always bothers me. So no, I'm going to technically false. They can't get on him for not winning a chip. They should be criticizing him for other reasons, I think. Bit of a hot take there.
I'm the complete opposite of you. I love Westbrook. I love the way he plays. He just seems like a really cool dude, and he might have some anger issues on the court, but overall, he just seems like a really –
he could use some anger management.
He just seems like a really cool dude, and the one thing that irritates me is two things that irritate me, actually. First of all, Stephen A. Smith is the first one to complain when a super team is formed, but then is also the first one to complain when a star doesn't have a championship. And it's stuff like that that makes these super teams
That's true. That is
fun
true.
to be formed. Like, if Kevin Durant, if the media wasn't talking about how Kevin Durant had choked and how Kevin Durant needed to win a title. Maybe he never goes to Golden State, but the media puts so much pressure on these players to win a championship, and then they go form a super team, and the media is like, we didn't want you to do that. So that's one thing that irritates me, because Westbrook's done it the way his whole career.
The media is too like they want everybody to win a championship with just like 2 All-Stars or something, and that's just not realistic in today's league. When you have teams like the Lakers who have 2 superstars, 2 of debatably the top 5 players in the league in LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They've got 2 of the 6 Man of the Year candidates from last year. Dennis Schroeder, who, don't quote me on this, I think actually, did he win it last year?
No, Montrezl.
It was Montrezl Harrell, right? Montrezl Harrell won it, who's with the Lakers, and then Dennis Schroeder, who I think got robbed. Both of those guys, 20-point per game scorers, and then they've got guys like Kuzma and other players on that team that kind of Andre Drummond they just added. They've got no one's beating that, or the Nets. Nobody's beating that. So the media's expectation for, if you're a great player, you have to win a chip, but you can't do it with a super team is almost like it's almost impossible in today's league. So I agree with you on that bit.
And then the second thing that irritates me that I was talking about earlier is Westbrook's career really took a different trajectory when he was lunged at by Patrick Beverley after a timeout. That was really when the injuries started to happen, when it started to go downhill. And the stuff that we criticize him for is the same stuff we praise Derrick Rose for. In that really athletic young guard got injured and then hasn't really been quite the same ever since, except Westbrook is almost at that same exact level. You could argue he's maybe not retained the same level of athleticism, but overall has been a better player since those injuries. But instead we like to complain about how he's washed, how he can't do this, can't do that. But we celebrate Derrick Rose for the exact same reasons, for coming back from tough injuries. But Westbrook, it's almost like a given. Like, he came back from those tough injuries and nobody cares because he's not an MVP anymore.
Yeah. I think Derrick Rose gets too much credit anyway for that stuff. I understand, like, it's a really nice story. Like, he had all those injuries. He got traded a bunch of times, and it's cool to see him come back. It's kind of like an Isaiah Thomas type story if Isaiah Thomas had ever actually come back, But, I think he is pretty overrated. People are always saying, like, they see a highlight of him making, like, a reverse layup on the NBA's Instagram page. I'm like, this is vintage Rose. Like,
well, that's what I was about to say, is Derrick Rose gets praised for making a floater because he used to be injured, and Russell Westbrook can't get praised until he scores 20 and 20 or 30 and 20 like he had the other night.
Yeah.
All right, so I only have a couple more. Unless, do you have one you want to do next, or do you want me to do the next one?
Okay. True or false? Zion Williamson is actually not Zion. True or false? Jason Tatum is better than Luka Doncic. This may seem obvious, but I feel like it's not.
I think it's very obvious. That is false. That is extremely false.
Thank you. I asked this purely because I knew you would say that, and I needed to address this. I'm going to say it. I know you're a big Celtics guy. Jason Tatum's fan base is the worst fan base in the NBA. Debate Mate's hot take. I'll be the one to make it. Jason Tatum's fan base is so obsessed with Jason Tatum, it bothers me. They think he's like the next LeBron James. Like, he's pretty good, He's a developing young star, but he is not. Oh, I think he's like the second coming of Michael Jordan, and it just. I saw a hot take today that said that on Instagram. I don't remember who posted it, but somebody said, like, Zion Williamson and Jason Tatum are both better than Luka Doncic. And I wanted to throw my phone because it's so dumb.
Yeah, those are both false.
Yeah, that being said, he is only 19. So
that is true. He has a lot of room to grow.
Right, he is only 19.
So next one, that was a little fun one there. Tatum, he's a great player, but no.
No, he's not on Luka's level.
Yeah. So next one here, you're talking about how I'm a Celtics fan. First and foremost, I'm a Kevin Durant fan.
Well, okay, that's true.
So, true or false? After Kevin Durant came back against the Pelicans, 5 for 5, 17 points. That game, or if it was a game earlier, doesn't matter. True or false? The Nets are clear-cut finals, the finals favorites. Clear-cut finals favorites.
I'll say true in that they should be. because they're not – so when you say clear-cut finals favorites, a lot of people still think the Lakers are going to repeat. And so in that way, it's not clear-cut because there isn't really like a unanimous kind of agreement on it. There's no consensus on that. But I think they should be. So I'm going to say true. Like, they ought to be the clear-cut favorites. Because, okay, to me at least, LeBron James is very slowly kind of declining. I think the past couple seasons. Especially when he's injured right now, so I guess it's easy to kind of forget how good he is. But, yeah, the past couple seasons, I mean, you see a trend with players as they get later into their career. They start being less productive, but they become more efficient because they have to rely more on their jump shot. LeBron James is shooting the three some of the best of his career, but he's scoring less and he's grabbing less boards, and he is dishing out, roughly the same amount of assists, maybe a little bit more. But these are things that you see with players who are slowly declining. I think in the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see LeBron start to near the end of his career. So, and at that point, I think Kevin Durant becomes the clear-cut best player in the league, to me at least. And I know you'll agree with me on that. You might think he's already. I don't know, but I'm not even sure that LeBron James is currently the best player in the league. I think people are just so attached to calling him that. But yeah, I think that KD and LeBron are on the same level right now. I think that Kyrie is obviously better than any point guard that the Lakers have. I think that I don't think that Andre Drummond is that great of a center. I don't think that DeAndre Jordan or whoever. I don't think it's like a clear huge mismatch there. And then obviously James Harden. Who's going to guard James Harden? I mean, Anthony Davis on the perimeter? I mean, obviously they've got nobody to check Anthony Davis, but I think they've got Blake Griffin and they have LaMarcus Aldridge, guys who can at least slow him down while also providing steady offense. The Nets have so much more star power than any other team. It's so surprising at the beginning of the season when the Lakers got Schroeder and Harrell, everyone was like, it's wraps. Nobody can compete with this team. It's wraps. And then the Nets got Harden, Aldridge, and Blake Griffin. And now it's like, yeah, they think they ought to be the clear-cut favorites. They've got the most star power, simply put.
Yeah, and speaking of Andre Drummond, when you have to use rebound percentage to convince me that he's one of the better centers in the league, you're losing the argument.
Exactly. If you have to go into super advanced analytics, and I think there's some usefulness to advanced analytics, I think that it's important to look beyond kind of the surface. Because if we just looked at the surface, like Russell Westbrook would be like the best player in the league, Yeah. If you just looked at the stats. So I think advanced stats are important, but at a certain point, people look for any little overly specific stat to prove that somebody is a good player. And like rebound percentage,
hey,
I'm not even sure what that
shooting
means.
The highest effective field goal percentage of all time. I mean, maybe he was the
all-star.
But
effective field goal percentage, like he only takes shots within 2 feet. It's like it doesn't count, No,
Joe Ingles, man.
I don't think that. Oh, Joe Ingles does?
Yeah.
That's actually, but effective field goal percentage counts threes as more than twos. So I guess that does kind of follow.
Shooting 70%.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, he's an absolute madman.
He's having the greatest shooting season of all time.
Yeah. What is he averaging? What are his splits right now?
He's shooting 70% effective field goal percentage.
Right, but his actual percentages.
Is he having like I don't 50, think he's 40, at 50, 40, 90. He's shooting 53% from the field, 49% from three, and free throws 86%. So that's
he's so close. This is the near 50, 40, 90 season. Yeah. Wow.
Joe Ingles was fun. Maybe he should have made the All-Star game over Conley.
Menace to society. Over who?
Over Mike Conley.
Okay, yeah, true.
Speaking of menace to society, Patrick Beverley. Do you think he deserved a suspension for just standing in front of Chris Paul as he was in midair the other day?
I actually have not seen that. I actually am not sure what you're talking about. He did what?
So Chris Paul had the ball and he was dribbling it down the court and he jumped and Patrick Beverley just moved in front of him and knocked Chris Paul over. And then in case we didn't know who the foul was on, Patrick Beverley was like, "Yep, that's me. My foul."
Yeah, if there's any situation in which Patrick Beverley can get in trouble, I'm all for it. But He's my least favorite player. If he and Russell Westbrook went 1v1, I'd root for Russell Westbrook.
I think
That's how much I dislike
Patrick Beverley is everybody's least favorite player. I don't know if anybody likes him.
It's always dudes who go to the like the pickup park wearing like black Air Force Ones who just like tackle people who are like, Patrick Beverley's a dog, man. He just hustles. You're just hating because a man's hustling. Like, no, trucking people in basketball is not hustling.
Dude,
that's just breaking the rules.
The Clippers are such an interesting team because they got Marcus Morris, who is willing to fight anybody at any time. They got Patrick Beverley, who will injure anybody at any time. They have Paul George, who is one of the mouthiest players in the league. Serge Ibaka, who has gotten multiple fistfights during games. And then they got Kawhi,
who's just the calmest, like most pacifist dude on the planet.
Yeah.
They just need to add now. Okay, here's what they need to do. They need to add Klay Thompson to add to their ultimate peaceful side. And then they need to add Grayson Allen.
Oh, gosh. Grayson Allen put up a 30
the biggest
the other night.
in society.
He scored 30
Yeah, I did. To be fair, okay, I might actually dislike Grayson Allen more than Patrick Beverley simply because I'm a UNC fan, but he's not relevant the way Patrick Beverley is. So my hatred for him is like it wanes.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
Grayson Allen and Patrick Beverley. Who would win in a fight, though? I think I'm going Grayson Allen.
Patrick Beverley. Grayson Allen is a little rich Duke kid. What's he going to do?
I think he's a little bit bigger, though. He might be able to just body slam Patrick.
Maybe. You never know. He's got that reach advantage, too. I think he's taller.
He does. And he
regardless of who wins, I would pay to see them fight. We could watch them throw down like Georges St. Pierre and on the UFC game.
Oh, Georges St. Pierre, the greatest fighter of all time. And apparently an action hero, too. You know he's in Falcon and the Winter Soldier? This man, he's all around.
He's a triple threat.
He's just amazing.
He's just the greatest person.
If no one else can take down Jake Paul, we got to get Georges St. Pierre in the ring.
You're right.
All right.
Well, moving on. I think. Are there any more true or false questions?
I don't have any. Like I said, I'm doing my top 25 under 25 video later.
Right.
Nathan and I are planning on doing a video Tuesday, so we're gonna cover some more stuff then.
All right.
We're gonna try to stick with these shorter videos now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this new experiment, the shorter video. Jack, thank you for coming along. This was a good time.
Of course.
I'll see you guys next time on the Debate Mates.
All right. Peace out.